It's 31st of August 2020. I started off my day with a message from a friend which read, Vijay Cavale passed away. For a moment, I was like, what am I reading? It was something like that. I couldn't even believe what's happening here. We know 2020 has been really awfully bad as of now, but I didn't expect to start my day with such a message. And I mentally called him up and I just asked, what's the message? What happened? So he just told me he got this news from his neighbor, apparently, who is a close relative of Mr. Vijay Cavale. And he just got to know this morning and he passed away in a hospital. And he was quite unwell since last few months, and his situation had apparently deteriorated over the last maybe a week or two. So that's the latest whatever I could get to hear. Now, for people who don't know who is Vijay Cavale, he is kind of like what we all looked forward to when we started off our journey of birding and bird photography. To be very honest, he was one of the first person I was introduced to when I actually got started in wildlife photography. And I was just told that if you want to learn anything about bird photography, this is the person whom you have to look forward to and go through his website, read his articles and things like that. And way back in 2005, when my mentor actually showed me the direction towards wildlife photography, the first thing that he gifted me was this magazine in which there was an article by Mr. Vijay Cavale about how to get started in bird photography. And till now, that's one of my prized possession. I still have it to date. And at that point of time, this is like way back 15 years ago, I was like, who is this guy standing on a 4x4 vehicle, standing on a roof with the tripod extended and like doing all these crazy stunts to take bird photography? My first perception was like that. But I apparently I got a chance to meet Mr. Vijay Cavale in one of a birding meetup, or rather I would say wildlife photography meetups, again way back in 2005, end of 2005. And that's when I got to personally meet him, and my respect for him just went up by hundreds of folds the very first time I met him. He was literally literally a plethora, he was like an encyclopedia of bird photography or birding and all those stuff. Like way back in the time, we were not even talking about when internet was a big thing, or we're not even talking about where you just have to Google for something to figure out what it is. This is way back in the time. And this meetup was organized as a part of something called India Nature Pics. Okay, this was a Yahoo Groups. So just remember, I don't know if the current generation people they didn't even know about what is Yahoo Groups. So it's all about Facebook groups and stuff like that now, or WhatsApp groups. But way back in the time, India Nature Pics is what started off. That's where we all got started off in this whole journey of wildlife photography. So this was a annual meetup, if I'm right. That's where I got to first meet him. And this person was one of the four pillars of this whole community of wildlife photography in India. He was one of the brainchild behind India Nature Pics, and also which something evolved into a website which we all called home, and this is where we all got started posting. This is again way before all our Facebook and Instagram or even image posting on Twitter came into picture. India Nature Watch, that's where we all started off our wildlife photography journey. So he was one of the pillars of this thing called India Nature Pics and India Nature Watch. And we all look forward to him. Whenever you go to him regarding any doubts, anything regarding birding or anything regarding bird photography or anything even technical, he used to be very approachable. Okay, and he never says no, or he never delays his responses. I still know, after I came back from UK after spending a couple of years there, and when I actually got started in my wildlife photography path, and he was one of the few guys I actually messaged much frequently on the private messaging on INW, or even writing a mail to him. I don't know, it is really difficult for me to digest that such a nice person passed away. And the entire day it just kept on haunting me, like all the previous occasions in which I had actually bumped into him and all those stuff. The last time I actually met him in person was way back in 2015, if I'm right, where we premiered one of our documentaries which we had shot in Meghalaya, and we had invited him for the premiere of that movie or video in NGMA, and he obliged and he came down. Actually, that video had nothing to do with wildlife. The video had nothing to do with birding, but with all due respect, we thought like people like him make their presence really felt by like giving us all the guidance and looking at our work. We learned from them, and now we translated this into video, and we wanted him to be there. We invited, and he obliged and he came down, and we was like so happy. That was the last time I actually ever met him. So, and whenever other nature photography symposiums or any meetups, wherever we bumped into him, he was like a very low profile person. Like he's not into doing things which will catch attention of people. Like, I mean, there are a lot of people who do that, but he's one of those guys. Like he used to be to himself, and you go to him, you approach to him, you talk to him, he responds, you ask him queries, he'll answer. He's such a nice and humble person, and he always used to be like I, me, myself kind of person. And this person, when I say knowledge, okay, his website India Birds, like this was literally our personally I would say it was like an encyclopedia for us. Like if you come across, like you photograph some bird or you've heard of some bird, we used to come back to house. Like back in days we didn't have smartphones wherein you could access websites from wherever you are, so we used to come back to our home, open up this website, try to search for similar looking birds in his website. He used to have this like a photograph, a description of what that bird is, where it is found, or what is the type of food that it eats. He also had this very unique thing called like bird calls. He used to have this section where like you just click on the bird call, it used to play an audio clip of how the bird sounds like when it is calling. We used to take that as a reference to audio. Oh yeah, the bird which we heard sounded like this, so this might be this bird. In fact, this morning when I actually went and searched for something around him, I just like, to be honest, like I wanted a picture of him. That's what you see as a cover picture of this particular video. I was searching, and the cover picture I got, or his profile picture that I got, was from SoundCloud. Apparently, I had never bumped into his SoundCloud account, but for the people who are going now and seeing, like, it's literally a basket full of information. It's like so many bird calls, reference calls. Like I know he was very technically savvy as well. It's not that he used to do just because he wanted to do, and you can literally hear countless number of very high quality bird sounds which are recorded from across India, different species and all high quality sound. And as I told you, these are the things that we used to use as a reference to identify birds way back in the time. In fact, I even seen a phase of him wherein he went all the way from, like, he used to be a hardcore bird photography expert, I would say. And I even know a phase wherein he started writing blogs. He started writing blogs about his like what you call it as travel journals. Okay, when he used to go for birding trip, he used to write blogs about it, which was really nice to read. It like the amount of information that he used to put was really fantastic. And I don't know, it's we today's the day we had to say goodbye to him. I know it's really difficult for all of us in the wildlife fraternity to miss such a person. Like it's a huge miss. It's definitely a big void that is created in this whole wildlife photography, and most specifically bird photography fraternity in India. And he was one of the senior most and the most respected one, and really something which I don't think so anybody can fill in that gap. The only thing that I can sign off is by telling thank you so much for whatever you have done to me, and thank you so much for whatever you have done to the wildlife photography fraternity and the community here in India. Rest in peace, Vijay Cavale.